Have you ever felt stuck? Like something was holding you back from the life that you know you're supposed to live? Well, let me define that for you. That is called resistance. In my previous video, I defined what resistance is and how we can move forward and the steps that we need to take in order to move forward. So, this is the first of that series about how we can move forward from resistance. And so, the very first step in overcoming resistance is to acknowledge. We have to acknowledge resistance. And resistance can show up in many different forms. It can show up in procrastination. I'm the queen of procrastination. It can show up in self doubt. I'm the queen of self doubt. It can show up in fear. Uh, I'm the princess of fear. So, as we take this journey together, we're trying to overcome resistance. And we have to know what resistance is. And that force, that feeling when you want to do something, when you know that something is going to progress you forward. And then there's that feeling, that pushback that keeps you from doing what you know you should be doing. And so I'll reference Romans, the 7th chapter. Paul, he talks about the things that he should be doing, he wasn't doing. And the things he should not have been doing, that's what he found himself doing. And a lot of times resistance shows up. But I also want to encourage you, because I was encouraged in finding this out, that resistance is a part of the natural growth process. So if you're feeling resistance, be encouraged that you might be on the right path, because in my last video, I also explained that our brains keeps us in a comfort zone. And why would our brains do that? It would do that because it wants to keep us out of pain. It wants to keep us in homeostasis, where everything is copacetic, where everything is equal, everything is good. So it's going to find that comfort zone. And guess what? Growth cannot happen in comfort. Growth cannot happen in complacency. And so let's remember that. So when we hit resistance, know that we are on the right path and that we are in a place where we can grow. And so we want to acknowledge that. So this video is about understanding why acknowledgement is so important. And so you'll see my head bob up and down because I have notes and I want to read those notes. So we will go over that, why we struggle with acknowledgement. And we want to shine the light on that. And I'm on this journey with you. So we're taking this journey together. And for those of you who don't know, I am Erica, and I am Erica Talks Life. I'm the creator of this channel, and this is what we do. We're talking life, right? And we need to understand what's going to help us be successful in life, what's going to help us complete the projects that we know we should be completing, what's going to help us move from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset, and also acknowledging that resistance is a part of that natural growth process. The only thing we need to do is learn how to move past those feelings of resistance, learning how to move past those things that come to stop us from moving forward and doing what we need to do. There's so many things that we need to do. What your projects, how you want to grow in life is going to be different from my projects and how I want to grow in life. But we all face these universal components such as resistance. And in order to move forward, in order to complete what we need to complete, in order to have the life that we want to have, we have to take those steps. And so this video is talking about that first step, which is acknowledgement. So we have to acknowledge the resistance. So take a few seconds to think about what is standing in your way. Is it fear? Is it self-doubt? Is it that you're looking at it as the big picture and not taking the necessary steps that are needed to get to that big picture. And so some of the things that we're going to talk about in acknowledgement and how we can acknowledge the resistance is to, number one, we can journal our thoughts and our feelings. So we can start by writing those things down. And that's what I've started to do. In the last video, I said I am not an expert in any way. We are on this journey together. And so I've often heard about journaling. I hadn't always been a journaler, someone who journals, but I've understood that I want to move forward in life. I want to get past these feelings that show up, this procrastination, not wanting to take the steps that are needed in order to grow and to have the life that I want to have. So what we want to do is to journal our thoughts and our feelings. When we write them down, we notice our feelings. We become more aware of what we're feeling in the moment. And when we acknowledge those feelings, or those feelings of anxiety, or those feelings of being doubtful, is the task too big? Because that's something that can stop us as well when things feel so overwhelming. So when we journal, that helps us get the thoughts out of our heads, because those thoughts need to be exposed. Those thoughts need to be exposed. And so when we expose those thoughts, we can deal with those thoughts. Number two, we can ask ourselves why. Once we journal, we can ask ourselves the why questions. We can dig deeper. Why am I avoiding this task? Why am I avoiding the task? What does this goal, or why does this goal scare me? I was listening to Dr. Myron Golden, and I'm a fan of a lot of people on YouTube. So I'm just saying I'm a fan of his. A lot of times success scares us because we don't know what success looks like, and a lot of times it can keep us in a space of comfort. Once again, that goes back to the comfort issue. And our brains wants to keep us in that comfort place because it's a place that doesn't have pain. And we know that growth it's uncomfortable. Growth is uncomfortable. So we want to understand why. After we've journaled, after we've gotten our feelings out on paper, we can ask why. What about the goal scares us? Why are we avoiding the task? And when we ask why a few times, we can reveal the root of the resistance. And so in my last video, I talked about how I just typed in some things in ChatGPT to understand why I was feeling the way I was feeling this resistance, not able to move forward in the things that I wanted to do. And so that's what we want to do. We want to journal and we want to ask why. And next, we can speak it out loud. Take a moment to speak out loud what we're feeling. And that can alone help us, because we're getting these things out of our system. If we're feeling afraid, if we're talking to someone, that person can help us understand that maybe our fears are just that, fears, and they can help us and encourage us to move forward in our goals and in the steps that are needed to move forward and to be successful and to get past resistance. And lastly, we can pray and surrender it all to God. And so as this channel is, we talk about the things that we face in life from a faith-based perspective. And so as believers, this is key, because we can acknowledge this to God in prayer. And if we're struggling with our fears, if we have anxieties, we can cast all of our cares on God, and he will give us that direction. Proverbs 3:5-6 says, if we acknowledge him in all of our ways, he will direct our paths. And so as we wrap up today, I want to hear from you. What's one thing that you do in order to acknowledge those feelings of resistance that rear their ugly heads. And so if you want to share that in the comments, let me know. Give me some pointers, because once again, we're on this journey together. And so I look forward to engaging with you. I look forward to the next video. So remember that we want to acknowledge the resistance, because if we acknowledge it, then we can confront it. We want to journal, get all of those thoughts and feelings out of our heads and in our minds. We want to write it down. You know, in my last video, we talked about the why, you know, and our why has to be stronger than our fear. It has to be stronger than our self-doubt. Our whys have to be stronger than that. And then also we ask why do I feel like this is overwhelming? Why am I afraid of the end result of accomplishing this goal? So many reasons why. And so when we ask why, we can write those down as well. Next, we can speak it out loud. Speak it out loud to ourselves, speak it out loud to someone else, where we can be accountable for our next steps, where we can be accountable to our goals, so we can get to that life that we want to live. And next, we want to pray and surrender it to God, because he can help us. He's given us the tools. He can put people in our path who's going to help us along the way. So we want to acknowledge resistance. And the next, we'll talk about another step, how we can overcome resistance in our lives. And until the next time, talk life, speak life, because that's all we have is life. See you in the next video.